want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good day, Mad Men Mafia.
I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
This is real today. This is real today, man. We getting it. We keeping it real.
Get your paper out. Get your pen. You want to take notes. You want to watch this on repeat. So like I'll just go ahead and ask Kirk, since he's the one with the experience in this topic. No pun intended. Did you expect, or were you prepared in your first two marriages for the ending?
All right, so here's the deal. There's two things I guess you could say fairly sure of when it comes to marriage from a man's perspective. The first thing is that marriage is not for every man. I'm sure that marriage is not for every man. It is just not. If you think your life is going to get easier because you get a wife and some kids and household and all that kind of stuff, I assure you that it can be better, but better doesn't necessarily mean easier. But marriage is not for every man, especially these days, especially with some of the female garbage that's out there. Not all. Not all. I mean, I'm not a hater. I love my wife. I mean, I'm not anti-women. I'm pro-women. I got 3 daughters. I got a mom. I got a granddaughter. So I'm pro femininity. I'm pro-women, but just the culture today. So anyhow, so the first thing is not everybody is built for marriage. The second thing is, if you get married, you don't want to get a divorce.
So quit beating around bush. How much you think?
There's going to be less of you when you're done with that whole thing. And my first, my first divorce, man, I was not prepared. I just kind of went in there with my hat in my hand, begging for what I could get, and what I got was screwed. In a whole lot of ways that weren't fun. My second one, I was way more prepared, way more educated, and I went in there with a whole different demeanor, a whole different mentality, and I came out of it. So that brings us to today, man. We got a guy. We got a guy. We got a guy. This guy has been on the Mad Men of Masculinity previously, and so we decided we need to bring him back, man. He's our personal, what we call our resident expert in terms of men's law and family law and all those kinds of things. And we're going to add him in right now. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. David Pisarra. How you doing, sir? Are you on there? Can you hear me now, man?
I'm awesome, Kirk. Jason, it's great to see you guys. Can't wait to have a great show.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had to have you on because I mean, your book's coming out, you're blowing up, you're doing your thing, and we've had you on before, but because of the subject matter, we always have to put this in there. It's not the sweet pill, it's not the nice thing, but men got to be prepared nowadays. I mean, you just look at the world, how it is. 50% of marriages end in divorce. 80% of those divorces are filed by women. And I saw another study that about 70% of those ladies usually have a backup plan, even while they're married. And it's like, guys, we got to start playing by the same playbook. We got to start covering our behinds and having a plan. So we got to bring the expert in. Talk about how do you prepare for this, because most of us don't know.
Absolutely. And David, you're not, let's make this clear, you're not giving legal advice to random strangers and all that kind of stuff. If you want legal advice, you need to hire him as your attorney and then handle it formally. So this ain't no him giving you legal advice and David told me to do it. He ain't telling you to do nothing. He's advising you. This dude is off the chain. He's got a platform, man. Tell us about your platform, David. What do you got, man?
So I got this little TikTok channel. I got about 53,000 people following me on TikTok. And we're having some fun on that one, where I drive in my car and my producer asks me questions and I make outrageous statements that are just insane pieces of truth that I've learned over 27 years of fighting in family court, trying to get dads more time with their kids, trying to get men to not have to pay quite so much alimony. It's a messy business in family law. And as Jason was saying, men need to start planning their plan B. Women, I think, plan their divorce as they're walking down the aisle.
Ooh.
Sometimes.
Ooh. That's juicy, man. You gotta unpack that, dude. You can't. I can't let you get out of it. I just can't let you walk away with that, man. I gotta pat you down before you walk out of the store with that one, man. Unpack that a little bit.
Well, we think about it for a second. When you start dating someone, men are trying to fall in love. Women are looking at it as a business. They're sizing you up. They're sizing you up. How good are you successfully in business? How much money have you got? What's your credit rating? How stable are you? All of that is like a giant leopard just on the plane looking out at like all the little like gazelles being like, okay, which one do I want? What's the meaty one that's got a little bit of a lame leg? It's going to be an easy kill, but there's going to be a good dinner after it. This is what's going on, man. You got to remember that women are looking at this as a business. Who's going to be the best provider for them? Well, provider turns into target when you walk into family court. If you're not aware of that, you are now. Because I'm here to tell you, if you're a man and you're going into family court, you're on the menu. And you were on the menu as she was walking down the aisle, as she was taking that first date with you, she was sizing you up. And if you don't think that's true, and where I get this from, on top of 27 years experience, if you listen to the amazing comedian Eliza Schlesinger, she's got an episode of her show called War Paint. And she talks about how women approach dating, and they're there just to collect data. They're there to learn everything they can about you. And it's all going to come back against you in a fight. And any man that's been in a fight with a woman knows I'm right. We call it kitchen sinking.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't do this, and you forgot that, and 3 years ago you didn't do this, and you forgot my mother's birthday, and it's endless. Why is that? Well, because they're collecting data. They're cross-indexing that data. They're sizing you up, figuring out, like, okay, I get a couple kids. How much child support am I going to get? How much alimony am I going to get? It's all a game.
Well,
So
that's
you're
why,
not saying that. You're not saying that women are planning to take you for everything up front. You're saying maybe I could be wrong, but the things that make a man desirable in the dating world also make him potentially a victim. He could be a predator in the dating world, but he can be prey in when it comes to court. Am I hearing that right?
No, you're close. He is prey in both times.
Oh,
you just think you are the predator. But if you think about it, what's going on there? She's wearing fancy clothes that are a little bit revealing. She's got her best makeup on, so you don't see any of the flaws. It's all designed to make this beautiful mask of how gorgeous she is. Maybe there's a little push-up thing going on. Maybe there's a little extra flirtiness. Why is that? What's going on there? Who's the prey? Who's the predator there? You really think you're the predator? You're just walking right into the trap.
Man, I'm telling you, man, you're going to get us into trouble, David. You're going to get us into trouble, man.
in the
You're
best
going to
way.
get us into some trouble here today, man. You're going to get us into some trouble here today, man.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
Well, that's why I want to have you on. I mean, like, because, yeah, we might get in some trouble, but if this helps any guys out, then it's good trouble to be in, because I think, and this is something I've noticed, and, we've even mentioned it before, men in a lot of ways are the more romantic sex, because they have the starry eyes and the fantasy, and they're like, I'm going to get her, and we're going to be the best people together, and we're going to ride off in the sunset, live happily ever after. And to your point, these ladies are looking at us like a buffet meal, looking at us like the sushi menu. Like, I'll take someone, call him A, someone call him B, someone call him C, and if that doesn't work out, then I'll take him and take the rest of it.
And don't forget, there's a takeout menu in her purse.
Oh yeah. You got a backup plan. You got a backup plan B and C.
Twitter.
Y'all are killing me, man. Y'all are killing me over here, man. You two dudes, man. I wonder.
Think about it. Think about it. When we want to take 18 and 19-year-old boys, and we want to turn them into warriors, and we want to make them ready to go and to run into battle. You're ready to die for your country. What is that? That's a romantic ideal. 100%. I don't see a whole lot of women doing that. There's some, but there's not a lot.
Yeah. I almost wonder if if men need to begin to recognize if and when they are a high value man, and they need to move accordingly. I think the lion that walks about the savannah with his mane flowing in the wind and all these other kind of things, I think he walks in his value. He walks in his power. He doesn't walk around like a victim. And I think us as men, especially when we enter the dating game, as we should, with something to offer, then I think we need to move in a way where we recognize our value and operate in a way upfront from the very beginning. Operate in a way where we know we have value and we know that we're bringing something to the table, something to offer.
100%. And that's where the man needs to have the romantic ideals kind of like pulled back. And when you're dating somebody, recognize that you're being sized up. Recognize you're on the menu. And when you want to actually look at like, okay, this is going to be a long-term relationship. I think I might want to have children with this woman. I think I might want to get married. I think I might want to tie my future to her financially. What am I actually doing? Okay. Am I clear with her? These are what I'm expecting. That yes, you're going to take off for maternity leave, but you're going back to work. This is a 2-income household. And if you don't go back to work, we will be getting a divorce. Like, you need to understand these are the boundaries that I am setting as the man going into this relationship. You've got the boundaries. You're setting this. I'm setting mine.
Yeah, we see that a lot. And
those expectations.
Yeah.
Not the, oh, I want to be the Superman. I want to have the stay-at-home wife. Oh, I want her to be there for my kids. It's better for the kids. Yeah. Talk me 3 years into a divorce of paying child support and alimony because she hasn't worked in 5 years and she can't get hired because her career's been suspended. Give me a break. Get a job.
Yeah, I mean, we see that a lot. We see a lot of guys, trying to put that effort up front. I mean, even getting prenups and things. And we see pretty much as soon as they're married, all that go out the window. And then once they get into the court, that definitely goes out the window. So it's like, guys are kind of, even, like Kirk was saying, even if he knows his worth and he sets his boundaries, once she gets that ring on him, then it comes up to basically her character. Like, is she going to be the same woman? Is she going to be the one that honors him and honors the relationship? Or is she just the hunter there to strip him from what he's worth? And, because those divorce courts, man, they're brutal. And better than we do that, you can put in all the, upfront efforts. You can put all the planning into it. And then once it comes to the court system, it kind of depends on the judge and your lawyer, because you might get screwed either way.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I was about to say, I'm not even going to say what I was about to say.
We better take a break before we start talking again.
I think we better take a break because I'm about to say something that was about to get me in some big trouble, man. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Madman and Masculinity on KLDZ. Boom.
Now, David, you're pushing all his buttons. He's starting to think again, and we're going to get in trouble.
Mm-mm.
Oh, there he goes.
I'm putting my jaws with size. I'm getting my jaws ready.
Yeah. Something working for you?
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Oh man, this is I tell you what, man.
I know I got jokes, man. If you need a jaws size, maybe you need to cook better so you don't got to chew so hard.
Easy, easy, man, easy.
You keep it in the kitchen.
My mouth is my money maker, man. My mouth is my money maker, man.
Okay, that's what.
I'm
not even going to touch it. I'm not even going to touch it.
I get a lot of things.
I'm letting it go.
I'm not going to let it
go. I get a lot of things taken care of around my house, man, with my money maker. That's all I'm saying.
So let's put your money maker to work.
Yeah, let's do that.
And we're back.
We are back.
David Pisarra, and y'all better get your notebooks out. Hit record.
Oh man, you fellas, man, you fellas are coming in hot, man. You fellas are, man, and I'm not mad at you. Like I said, man, I've been, I've been on a lot of different sides of that equation, man. And I was the guy starting over with absolutely nothing. I was the guy that ended up with a 4-figure child support. I paid child support for 22 years.
Wow.
22 years of my life. I'm 52 years old. I paid child support. And that's not, that is not something that and quite honestly, I'm not bitter about it. I think my first time around, like I said, I was unprepared. And she pulled, I had that whole thing. All of a sudden, couldn't find a job. All of a sudden, this and that. About 2 small kids and quote unquote daycare was by a friend and all this other kind of stuff and blah blah blah. I can go down the road and I was working 3 jobs and all kinds of stuff like that. And like I said, I've also been down the scenario where when we got when our marriage ended, we didn't even have an attorney on either side. We did it ourselves and worked out everything. We both, the child support is a calculation anyway, so it is what it is. But that took care of itself. We took, we had no bitterness. We're friends today. So I've had it, and I can honestly say I'm happily married again today. I mean, I think about my third time is the charm, and I went into this one totally different than I went into the last 2. So I came out of the second one different than I came out of the first one, and I went into my third one way different than I did my first and my second one because I learned lessons. Because I don't think us as men are victims. I think the whole point of having a guy like you, David, in our life up front is to make sure that we're not victims, right? And so the whole point is to not be a victim. Part of that is protecting yourself. Part of that is learning lessons, man, and learning lessons from yourself, from other people, other guys, and learning lessons from you, David. I mean, you do this for a living.
Right. And I agree with you. Men are not victims. They're targets. And they have to recognize.
Wow.
And there's a real distinction there that's important. Because if you tell a man you're a victim, it's very demasculating. It's very demeaning. Takes his self-esteem away, takes his power away. But if I say you're a target, well, there's a reason why you're a target. You're a big, meaty, fat wallet target. That's what we're going after here. That's what it's about.
Why I gotta be fat, man?
Your experience is
PHAT fat.
statistically, your experience is exactly correct. 70% of first marriages fail. 60% of second marriages fail. Third marriage, you got a fighting shot. And it's because you didn't know what you were doing. You were all romantic, and it's all like, oh, it's going to be great. We're in love. It's going to be like this forever. No. Second one is like, okay, I learned a few lessons. Maybe I should have a little bit more factors to look at when I get married. And then the third one, like, okay, now I'm not going into this all romantic gooey eyes. It's like, all right, let's get serious about this. Like, is this really someone who's bringing to the table their own assets, their own abilities, their own ability to commit? How well do they know themselves? How stable are they mentally and emotionally and psychically and spiritually?
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I know we've even talked about it before, that especially for guys, because we can be dewy-eyed and follow the fantasy of, star-crossed lover syndrome, and she's the one and all this stuff, and then we end up getting screwed over, and it's our fault because we didn't do our due diligence, we didn't plan it out. And I think, especially for guys, I mean, to your point, you got to understand you're the prize, you're the target. You need to plan this out like a business, because it is. I mean, if you're getting married, you're bringing in the state, you're bringing in the all these legal ramifications of creating this legal entity of marriage. You need to treat it like a business and treat your wife like a business partner. Because I think we as men, a lot of times, because we're not as emotionally manipulative naturally, we're not as I don't want to use that word. Not conniving. Okay, we're not as conniving when it comes to relationships and trying to get something out of it and all the planning, and for the most part. So we need to understand the playing field. We need to understand the rules of the game, like especially in the U.S. nowadays. It deck stacked against us as men. We got to understand we're the prey, we're the target, and in a lot of ways we're the prize. If that lady's looking at us, they're looking at us like a meal. They're looking at us because we have something they want. So we need to create a business decision, make a business decision. If you're good in business, don't allow your marriage to fail because you didn't think of that as a business decision. It is.
Right. Absolutely. And it's not
Yeah,
just an
marriage.
American problem. It's a global problem. I mean, I get on my TikTok, I get DMs from guys literally all over the planet. I've got Australia, South Africa, the UK. There's one guy in Belgium right now. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah. We got to understand as men, what we can easily think is a spiritual and emotional endeavor. We can find out the hard way that it's a legal journey as much as anything. With that it's an entity, it's a binding contract. Just like every other contract, it has consequences for breaking that contract, and the state is heavily involved in it. And you got to understand that that when you go into it, again, you can go in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then you can come out with black eyes and a foot in the tail. And so being able to reckon, ultimately what we're leading to in this conversation is being prepared when when or if you have to go down that road. But and in this equation as well, there are a lot of guys, man, that are dealing with the kid aspect of it, man. Where kids can be withheld from you, parental alienation. Kids can be told all kinds of bad stuff about you. I mean, you got all of that kind of stuff that is not even in the legal journey. I mean, in the legal process. And so ultimately, the crux of this conversation is man, how can we be prepared before, during, and hopefully not, but after the marriage itself becomes a thing.
I think the first thing that men need to do in terms of getting prepared is going through programs like yours that have us understand who we really are intrinsically as a man. It's not that romantic, gooey Disneyification of love. Like, let's look at what it really is. It is a business deal. You wouldn't go into business with your best partner, just that you're your best friend, just thinking like, oh, it's gonna be great forever. No. There's agreements, there's salary, there's vacation time pay, there's compensation, there's expenses, there's how we're going to handle money, how we're going to handle responsibilities. Why don't we do that in the most important relationship in your life that has huge implications?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said the word, the Disneyfication of romance and of the Western world. We think, oh, we're just going to get together. And then you have all these, I mean, Kirk's favorite show is Married at First Sight. It's just like, this is insanity, the way we treat relationships, and like, oh, it's just going to work out. I think, especially to your point, you need to treat your relationships, and the dating. Yeah, okay, go out on your dates and have your star-crossed lover syndrome and have all the emotions in the first couple of dates. But then when you think this is going to get serious, I mean, get serious. Start having the hard conversations up front. Like, I agree with one guy I was listening to. He's like, dating should not be the fluffy part of marriage. It should be the investigative and deep dive and getting into the dirt to find out who your partner is and if this is somebody you want to create a business with, because you are, versus it's amazing. Because when you're trying to keep it all romantic, you edit yourself, you get manipulated, you try to manipulate the other person and not look in your closet and out all your stuff, instead of lay it out to say, hey, here's all my stuff, how can you handle that?
Right.
Yeah. And from a man's perspective, even in the dating world, maybe we even need to begin with what type of a person we get into a relationship with. If you're getting into a relationship, if you meet a lady, for example, how important is your peace to you? And does she bring you peace? What kind of a person is this? What kind of a person am I getting into this relationship with? What does, us as men, and we have a lot to offer in our culture, to a woman and to the right woman, and we got to be willing to say no to some, and so that we can say yes to the right one. But maybe in the very beginning, we make better choices on who we get in a relationship with, and not even settling in the first place.
I think one of the things is that men need to learn how to evaluate other people. We know how to do it with other men. We know how to size each other up. We have that gut reaction to somebody of, I trust him, I don't trust him. There's just something like, I'm not, no way. And when it comes to long-term relationships, one of the things that I have found is a great tell is whether or not somebody has long-term relationships that are friendships. Does your future partner have long-term friends more than 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? My guess, Kirk, we haven't discussed this, but my guess, first wife, a lot of short-term relationships. Third wife, a lot of long-term friendships.
Very few and long-term friendships. In other words, some very core and long-term friendships. Absolutely, you are 100% spot on, man. You nailed that one.
It's just it's something I've learned over the years. Like, I judge people by who they keep company with, and one of the questions I ask people is, "Who's your longest friendship?" And I am surprised at how many people don't have more than a couple years.
Oh.
My longest friendship goes all the way back to diapers. We were in diapers together.
Wow.
Not the same diaper.
good clarification there. So in our last minute of this segment, I mean, so maybe a couple bullet points from you, David, like, because obviously you got to get to know this person, and so the friendship thing is good. What would be a couple other ones, like if you're starting to date somebody that you want to get to know, so you can kind of judge their character?
What's their family like? If they're not coming from a stable family, they're going to they will replicate, they will recreate their childhood. One way or another, they're going to recreate their childhood. And if they had a turbulent childhood with no dad around, dude, you're run. It's gonna replicate itself, because they're training, everything in their body tells them that the man is not necessary to raise children. And they're going to push you out.
Yeah, and if they think that drama is love, then guess what? You're not going to have a peaceful household.
Oh, that's guaranteed.
And speaking of peaceful household, it's time for us to take ourselves, hopefully, a peaceful break. We are the Mad Men of Masculinity, and we'll be right back. I'm taking notes, man, right here.
Dude, you're right. I mean, in terms of, if they see drama as normal, then in order for their lives to be normal, your life is going to have to be drama. And, people with especially women with long-term friends, are normally okay with balancing and canceling out the drama level in their life, man. I mean, You're so right about that.
It's just one of those things where, and I think to some degree it has to do with just maturity level. People in their 40s don't buy into the same level of drama. Yeah. There's those, in their 20s.
I got time for that. I'm old. I'm tired. I ain't got time for that.
I don't.
All right, let's bring it back. Awesome, I want to get into the book and the podcast a little bit, because right now we need to send guys, where can you get this education?
Yeah. Let's do that. We're back.
Yes, we're back.
We are back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC 1220 on the AM side of the house in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. And but David, you're not in Colorado, man. Where are you based out of? I know, but for the sake of the audience, where are you based out of?
Yeah, I'm in Santa Monica, California. I'm down by the pier and that little strip of the country that just burned to the ground, Pacific Palisades. Oh man, I was driving a PCH yesterday. It's bad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
And that's so
crazy.
And
you've been practicing law? You've been practicing law out there?
27 years now. We've been practicing law and, representing dads and family court, trying to lower child support, get them more time with their kids.
You're doing God's work, man, especially out in California.
It's a really interesting thing, because I thought it was just California, and then I wrote this book, Dad's Child Custody Action Plan, this one, and what I'm getting from my TikTok and from people that are reading the book is this is a global problem. It is dads across the planet who are being X'd out of their kids' lives, and they want to come back in. They want to fight for time for their kids, because you only have a very short window to be in a kid's life, like birth to realistically 14. They're ready to be like, get out of here. You don't know anything. I want to go play with my friends. And I'll see you when I'm 25. So it's a short
And so,
window.
what is the dad's? What's the dad's custody action plan all about?
So the biggest problem dads have going into family court is they don't know what to say. Similar to when they're dating, they don't know what to ask. Going into family court, they don't know what to tell the judge. They walk in and they're like, I'm a great dad. I love my kids. My kids love me.
And then
Judge
she's made up a story.
Right? Like, so you haven't really said anything at that point. Every kid loves their parents. And so what happens is the judge doesn't really have any valid information from the dad. But what he's got from mom is he's an alcoholic, drug addict, abuser, negligent, doesn't know the kids, doesn't know their friends, doesn't know their teacher, doesn't. And the judge is looking at it going like, I got this stack of things that you're not doing as a father. And I got nothing from you, buddy. And so what I decided to do after seeing this happen for like 25 years in court is start teaching men what you need to show the judge that you're a great dad. And so I wrote this book, Dad's Child Custody Action Plan. And the goal of the book is to give dads the information they need to tell the judge so that the judge can recognize that they're a great dad. You know, one of the things that we've got in this book that's really important is a sample declaration. And my declaration to the judge is going to look not like I'm a great dad. It's going to look like this. There's going to be tons of information that the judge wants to know about why you're an awesome dad. It's a really important tool because dads need to go into court, explain to the judge, here's all the stuff I know about my kid. Here's where we're doing time. Here's what we're doing on the weekends. Here's the proof. Here's my dad's daily calendar. Here's all the receipts from all the stuff we've done. It's a really important tool that allows a judge to be like, you know, Mr. Samuels, I do recognize that you're a great dad, and we are going to give you 50% custody because you are showing up, even though mom says you aren't. And so what we've done in this book is there's a kid inventory. It's 123 questions that are designed to get all the information that you know about your kids onto paper so that you can put it in front of the judge. It's all stuff most dads know. Like, what's your kid's biggest fear? How do they deal with failure? What's their favorite food? And the one that every mother always complains about the dads never know about the kids, what's your kid's shoe size? I don't know why it's a shoe size, but it's always a shoe size.
Well, it changes every 3 months, so like, how can I remember?
Well, just keep going up.
Yeah. Well, and that's it's so good because I think, and we've seen it so many times over and over again, that she checks out. She's planning this for bare minimum 6 months, a lot of times, especially if they're married longer. He's unaware. He thinks everything's hunky dory because she's just doing her thing. She's already checked out. And so she's putting like all of this information together. She's getting all of her ducks in a row. She's getting everything prepared. So men have to just do these things. And it's not a planning for a divorce. It's a just in case. Like, you have car insurance, you have medical insurance, you have dental insurance. You have all these insurances just in case. You need to have a plan, gentlemen, in your relationships, in your marriages, just in case, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, what the hormones are going to say one day to the next. You don't know what, who's going to slide in her DMs and change her mind. You don't know what her crazy best friend's going to do. I mean, you never know. And so you got to have a plan, because I see so many guys, and I've heard from so many friends over the years, that they're blindsided, and then they get run through the ringer in court because, like you said, they don't have a plan. They can't prove that they're a good dad.
Right. Absolutely.
And when you go into a court, man, I'll speak for example from experience, and I'll be pretty vulnerable with this. I'll advise every guy, make sure you stay in your kid's life, because if you don't find a way and you shouldn't have to fight. You shouldn't have to fight to be in your kids' lives. Unfortunately, that's the playing field, the battlefield we live on. I think courts are getting better at listening to dads, but I think we need to be better at the messages that we're communicating in court. But you want to stay in your kids' lives, because if you lose that bond, that connection with them in their pre-teens, and especially through the teens and all that kind of stuff, it will come back, and it's very difficult to get that back once they become adults. And so, as men, we have to make sure that when you walk into court, you don't walk in there just looking for whatever you get, whatever the court's going to tell you, 70-30 or something stupid, 80-20, 90-10, whatever, something dumb. You want to be in your kids' lives as much as possible. And if it's 50-50, then great. And oh, by the way, that parenting time is a line item on that child support calculation. And so, I mean, money is a factor, but the most important factor is fighting to be in as many days of your kids' lives as possible while they're still in the school age years.
100%, because you don't get time back. You can always make more money.
Mm-hmm.
Men never worry about money, really. Like, I've never met a man who's really all that concerned. Because we can always go get another job. We can go do something. We'll live on fucking beans and toast for a month if we have to, like, whatever. The time is what makes men so desperate, so depressed when they lose that. And that's one of the big things is, when you lose your kids, the mental health issues that arise as a result of it that we don't talk about, that nobody wants to address. The depression that comes along with it, the number of men that end up committing suicide because they've been put through the ringer, because their kids have been taken from them, because their kids have been turned against them, and then they've been financially destroyed. All of that leads to an incredibly high suicide rate among men who are going through this sort of battle. And it's a shame. And we can do something about it. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, is because they need to have the tools to fight in court so that they, at a minimum, even if they lose, they can look in the mirror and they can know they did everything they could to fight for themselves and for their kids. And a man will take an honorable loss and be able to recover. But a dishonorable loss, like my kids were taken from me and I just couldn't get the judge to hear me and I didn't know what to say, that's a hard thing to get over.
And I'll tell you, man, there's not much pain that's worse in terms of parenting than an adult child that hates you for no reason. They hate you because they hate you and they have no idea how much you love them. They hate you because of something they heard or their perception or because whatever. I mean, whatever the reason is, their perception is you didn't fight for them. They heard this, they heard that. But I'm telling you, a deep, deep, deep parenting pain is a child that hates you for no reason at all. And so, we got to do what we got to do, and that is to get our hands in, get a hand on that book, do whatever you got to do to advocate for yourself when you get into that court, man, because you don't want to regret. You don't want to look back 10 years from now and regret not saying something more than you said.
And one of the things that men need to understand, in preparing for the divorce process, men tend to be very honorable going through the divorce process. Judge says, don't talk to your kids about what's going on. They're not supposed to know what's happening. I would say conservatively 90% of my dads don't do that. They don't talk to the kids. They keep it separate. It's a giant Chinese wall. Like, no. I do not think that's true with moms. It's been my experience that moms involve the kids at every turn that they can. They tell them everything that's going on, why your dad's a jerk, why he's this, why he's that, why he's a loser, why he's a deadbeat. He's not paying enough child support. He abandoned us. We're fine without him. We'll survive without him. We don't really need him. He never really loved us. He never really loved you. And it's like, at some point, men have to recognize that there's a time, not in the beginning, but there is a time to fight a backfire. And it backfires when you've got a forest fire going and you set a backfire to burn the fuel so that the fire will burn up to it. And then there's like this empty zone and the fire will naturally die. There comes a time when men need to start telling their kids what's really going on. Not with 5-year-olds, but when they're in their teens, if mom's telling them one story, I'm sorry. You whip out all of these damn documents and you start showing them what's going on. And you let them read that stuff, because if mom's going to do it, you better get in that fight, buddy. I'm sorry. It's not good. I don't agree. I'm not saying it's good for the kids, I'm saying it's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Guys want to be honorable, and like you were talking about, they get this romanticized version of being a father and going to war, and we have this romanticized version of relationships. But we need to get real about it and realize that number one, the lady that you married is not the lady that's divorcing you. She now hates you. She now wants to take you through the ringer, just be spiteful, and you got to do, like he says, everything you can to protect yourself. And we wonder why men are checking out of relationships and why, the dating market is so much the way it is. Well, I mean, you look at all this evidence from what used to be the nuclear family being destroyed, and I mean, hand over fist being destroyed, and then ladies taking advantage of it because in a lot of ways they're more opportunistic and smarter than men when it comes to these things, and they plan better. Most men get blindsided, and we as guys need to stop being the victim to this and start planning. Like, just know that woman, that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed woman that you love might not be, she might turn into the devil at some point. You got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, they have a tendency to fight emotionally, right? And there's very few rules when emotions come involved in a fight. And from her perspective, she's lost a very significant emotional connection in her husband. She's lost some identity. She's lost a whole lot of things. And so she latches on emotionally to her kids, emotionally dependently to her kids. And she, begins to share and lean on them in ways to support her emotionally through this breakdown in her life in ways that she should. And it's very unhealthy. And it's extremely unfortunate because as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the worst abuses that you can inflict. One of the worst abuses that you can inflict on a kid going through a divorce is to somehow drive a wedge between them and their other parent, whoever their other parent is. That sucks, and you're less than a human being if you do that, and because you're putting yourself over the emotional, mental, spiritual, physical health of your kids. You're sacrificing your kids at the altar of your hate, of your hatred and your hurt. And so us as men, and we got to be willing to be present. I mean, being present will outrun all of that junk. He wasn't there. But he actually was there at my choir concert. He wasn't. Well, actually, he was there. I mean, all that kind of stuff. We got to fight through the garbage in order to just be present. And then to your point, David, I think at some point, you do advocate for yourself. You do say, you know what? I'm not a jerk. Let me tell you. Let me tell you some stuff. Let me tell you how many times I tried this. Let me tell you how many times I tried. Let me tell you when I had to get a restraining order against your mom. My personal stuff.
Well, it's a long story, but we got to advocate for a break right now. We are the Madmen of Masculinity, and we will be right back.
That's a really big issue with the domestic violence restraining orders that we probably ought to address. The men don't understand what domestic violence is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I never
that's something we need to talk about too, because I mean, more often than not nowadays, the ladies are committing the domestic violence, and then the guys are going to jail for it.
That's correct.
And it's and we think it's funny, like, oh, she's so small and she can't really hurt me, and then she keeps amping it up until she gets the fry pan or the knife or something, and then but then because there's violence in the home, who goes to jail? The guy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, Gus. All right, you ready to come back with the fourth quarter?
There's no such thing as honor in that whole thing, man. We try to suck it up and take one for the team, and it's like when she acting cray like that, you got to get some stuff documented too.
Yeah.
We'll
do the fourth quarter. Make sure we promote the TikTok and everything else. And,
let's do that right out of the gate. Let's get that right out of the gate.
Cool.
All right.
And
we're back. That's right.
It's getting real up in here, y'all.
That's right. Y'all almost had me doing some therapy up in this joint.
I had to cut him off.
Hey, David, man, guess what, man? Sometimes guys need to get in touch with guys like you, man. They need to know, like, that the book you talked about, man. I don't know if you have any resources for guys. I do know, but I'm just setting you up. I don't know if you have any resources for guys, a way guys can plug into you and your platform, maybe some support on an ongoing basis, all that kind of stuff, man. I mean, how can guys get a hold of the resources that you have?
The easiest way is to find me on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. It's at Dad's Law School. That's the handle. If you want to find me on the website, you go to dadslawschool.com. So it's all the same thing. It's all real simple. Just Dad's Law School. You'll find me. The goal is to get dads the tools they need to fight in family court and to be prepared. And if you go to my website, the first thing you're going to get is Dad's Playbook for Family Law. And it's a free PDF. It's going to lock down all of the things that you need to do right off the gate going into some sort of divorce or child custody battle issue. We're talking about what kind of documents you need to get, how do you handle your emotions, and what are the 3 P's of child custody: paperwork, proximity, and persistence. You've got to have your paperwork ready. You've got to live close to where the kids are going to be, and you've got to be persistent. Judges don't make orders right off the bat. You got to keep going back and back. But if you want to get the free resources, you go to dadslawschool.com. Right up top, there's a big button that says free resources, and you can get the free playbook right there to get you started. If you want to get the book, you can get the book either in the link in bio, in all of those TikTok, YouTube. The link in bio is going to have it, or it's available on the website. Just go to dadslawschool.com, scroll down about 2/3 of the way. There's a big old picture of the book that says, buy now.
Can they get one autographed?
They all come, if you buy it on the website, it all comes autographed.
See, I'm setting you up. I know these things, man.
No, talk about setup, because it is the second annual men's summit coming up in August. And have we twisted your arm enough, or are we still twisting to try to get you to come to that one?
We're working on it, man. We're working on it.
We're ordering the plane tickets.
We need to get you out here, man. We need to get you out here, man. Some guys need to. I don't know. First of all, I don't know if you realize you made a mistake. You said there are free resources. You said a free PDF. You realize you said free? Are you sure about that? That's like
free
like
PDF,
free?
Man, all you got to do is you just go in, sign up. I'll shoot you an email with it.
Oh man, dude.
See, this man is just doing God's work, man.
Dude, if you want to learn just about everything I teach, just go watch all my TikToks. 90% of it's in there. And if you want to get the support group, you go to dadslawschool.com and you join our VIP program, where we meet up twice a month on Zoom so guys can start sharing, asking questions about the program. We have a video course strategy that teaches dads what they need to know about going into court, how to gather evidence, how to use that evidence, so that you're actually walking into court armed, ready for bear, prepped, trained, learn how to speak in public. It's all designed in the video courses to help you go in there and get the time you need and your kids deserve.
I love it, dude. I got a good buddy of mine that's in the middle of fighting for his right, like the Beastie Boys said, fighting for his rights, man. He turned his life around, and now he's going back and making the best case he can, man, for why he should have some time with his daughter. I mean, one of the best guys I know, man. And so, this is the kind of stuff that can help out guys out there. There's a lot of good men out there. There's a lot of good men that want good things, and one of the good things they want is time with their kids. And there should be no reason why a person or a state law would stand in between a good man wanting to spend time with his kids, man. So I thank you so much. You ever had guys have domestic issues, like domestic violence, but from the female's perspective, from the spouse's perspective?
Oh, only just about all of them.
Oh,
I'm setting you up, man. I'm setting you up, dude.
They just don't understand that domestic violence does not mean you hit somebody these days. Domestic violence has changed. We are looking at domestic violence from the days when Nicole Brown Simpson was murdered. We're not there anymore. We're way the heck over here. It's you raised your voice. I'm afraid of you. Financial control, coercive control, emotional control, controlling behaviors, disturbing the peace of the other person. Now, I don't know anybody that's ever lived in a roommate situation where they haven't disturbed your peace. I mean, they're doing the dishes at 10 o'clock at night. You got to be up at 4 the next morning. Like, there's always something. Those are grounds, technically, to get a restraining order against somebody. What we're looking at these days is, are they nagging you? Are they yelling at you? Are they withholding money? Are they withholding affection? Are they withholding communication? All of that is technically grounds for domestic violence these days. Domestic violence and domestic abuse are basically the same thing. Violence does not mean you have to physically hurt somebody these days. You can do it with your words. Well, who's better with their words, men or women? Okay,
Ladies.
well, if you're going to acknowledge that, then you got to acknowledge that women are more likely to be abusers in a domestic situation. You know, they did a study and they looked at, you know, where are the rates of domestic abuse. They started with heterosexual couples, and it's about here. And then they went to lesbian couples. You want to does it go up or down, guys? You tell me.
It goes up.
Way up.
Lesbian couples go way up.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think the gay men are?
Oh, they're happy. They're down low.
Yeah.
And there's a really good reason for it, because women are empowered to be assertive and to be aggressive. A woman can walk up to Jason and slap him, and no one's going to say anything.
I will.
A woman can walk up to Jason and call him a moron pervert, and no one's going to say anything. So now you put two women in a relationship. They're both empowered to do that. Of course, they're going to do it to each other. Then you put two men in a relationship. We're going to size each other up. Even just on friendships, even just in bar, you know, you're in the bar. Somebody says something and they're getting a little bit feisty, and you're looking at it. You're deciding, like, can I take that guy? If I hit him, am I going to get knocked out, or am I going to knock him out? So men naturally regulate our emotions better. We regulate our responses better. As a consequence, gay men, we have very low domestic violence rate.
Wow. And that makes sense, because conflict to men, regardless of your sexual orientation, conflict to men ultimately could involve like death. I mean, it's, you know, that's just real in our universe. That's not necessarily real in the female universe. And so it's all monopoly money kind of on that side of the equation. So it makes sense that you know, it can, if you want to talk about it, and I hate the phrase, it goes both ways, but you know, but the whole idea of domestic violence going both ways, and it's like, how many men, you know, you probably never even heard of a battered men's shelter. Most of the time they don't exist. There might be one in the state of Colorado. I mean, well, you have, yeah, because of your work, but you know, but it's just it's one of those things that just doesn't exist. But obviously, men surely deal with that.
There were two in the country. There's one in Dallas, and I assume that it's still operational. And there was one in Batesville, Arkansas.
Okay.
I know I actually went to Batesville, Arkansas, and I interviewed the executive director, Patty Duncan. And I don't think it actually survived. I don't think it survived the pandemic. The shelter system, the mindset of the shelter system is very female-centric. It's one of the reasons why we have such a hard time in family law making change, because there's so much money, so many lobbyists behind the DV shelters, and the industry behind that of batters intervention programs, anger management classes, supervised visitation. It's an industry that's huge, and there's a lot of money involved. And one of the things we have to remember is that they're a little bit blind sometimes to their own issues. For example, when I was doing my documentary and I was interviewing executive directors, I went down to the shelter in Long Beach, and I'm interviewing the director. And in California, we have a law that says if you're a shelter, you have to accept men and women. It's just you can't be just one. You can keep them separate, but you have to take both. And I said, so how many men come to your shelter? And she said, you know, we don't really ever get men. I just don't think there's a need for it. I said, really? Do you think your name might have some issue with that, some reason for that? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you call it the Women's Shelter of Long Beach. How many men are going to want to call that and ask for help? She didn't think I had a really good point.
You know, all things are not created equal, especially in in family laws and the breakdown of relationships and situations. My prime example is, with child support. Child support is paid to the family support registry. You don't pay child support, they come after you. But that same couple, if the person receiving child support doesn't allow for parenting time or breaks any other rules, well, then I got to go get an attorney to let's now get a court date 90 days from now to address that whole situation. So all things are absolutely not created equal.
About it.
Right, exactly. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm telling you, all things are not created equal in these spaces. And that's why us as men, we got to be able to advocate for each other. We got to be able to recognize that, we go through some stuff too. And, if you think you're on an island, it's a very well populated island because there's a whole lot of men that are going through the same thing. And that's why we need to make sure we plug into each other, support each other, encourage each other, share information, share wisdom, become prepared, all these other kind of things, man, that you got going on, David. So I love everything that you do, man. Plus, you're a cool guy. I appreciate you being a friend.
Thank you, Kurt.
We love having you. We continue having you on because you give such good information. And guys, it's time for you to, like Kirk said, have a group of guys around you and start vetting these women and test them. Don't put up with the nonsense because it's not going to get better. If she's got an attitude, if she treats the waiters like poo poo and she's always got causing drama, I don't care what her booty looks like. Don't get booty blind. It's not the girl for you. Make sure to remember you're the prize nowadays. So do your due diligence. Make sure you're prepared. You got to. They suit you up for combat. Well, guess what? I'm sorry to tell you, relationships are combat now. You got to be prepared. And so look up David. Look up Dad's Law School. And any final words, David, that somebody needs to take away from you while you're here?
I just want men to remember this. I really want them to pay attention to the fact that men are in love, women are in business. And they need to they need to pay attention.
Men are in love, women are in business. Remember that, y'all. Remember that. Write that down. Put it on your wall. Put it in your car. Put it on your mirror. You need to keep that in mind. And until next time, we are the Mad Men of Masculinity. That is David Pisarra from Dad's Law School. And we are out.